You're tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network, featuring news, interviews, and commentary on all things Black Hollywood. Hollywood redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Black Hollywood Live, Geek.Nerd.Tech, featuring a weekly roundup of tech news and gossip. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host for Black Hollywood Live, Geek.Nerd.Tech.
Time keeps on slipping. It's a bad version of that. You a customer. Welcome to Geek.Nerd.Tech, the show we break down nerd culture, tech news from a black geek perspective. I'm Joe Braswell. As always, I'm joined by my man, Achilles Shine.
What's good, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
We're on every other week thing right now, right?
I know, man. We've been pretty busy handling things, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're back. Lots to discuss. I mean, I think the last time we were here, we were talking about, I forget. Oh, we came back from E3. Yeah, which was good too. When we did talk about how much I love Godzilla, by the way. It's been every other week, but I know. Okay,
we had that conversation.
Okay, I love Godzilla. All right, just for the record, E3 was dope. For the record, it's super. We're back with a lot to discuss this week as well. Let's just jump right into it because there's a lot of tech news we want to get to. Let's talk about this whole, the Bezos and Amazon. We talked last week or 2 weeks ago about their sort of ho-hum announcement of their music player, which we were all kind of like boring, exactly. But now they've announced their Fire phone.
Amazon's putting me to sleep.
No, come on, Fire.
That is a terrible name.
Fire. My phone is on fire. I mean, that's their brand, the Kindle Fire and Fire, Prime. They're trying to keep it with that theme, but you're not too happy. Well, first of all, there's a lot of complaints, a lot of it's a very polarized announcement. Some people think it's really incredible, has some really incredible innovations. It's got that sort of that 3D thing where it can recognize products and things, and it dynamically looks amazing when you're looking at it. You tilt the screen around, kind of like the dynamic thing the iPhones have. The way you get in and out of apps are very cool. It's got a lot of bells and whistles, but a lot of people are saying is we don't need all that ish. Yeah. Like, just make the phone work.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the technological age that we're in, I think that's exactly it. The bells and whistles really aren't important. What's most important is good user experience. Like, you want to be on the phone and be able to do the tasks that you do every day, and you want to be able to do that fluidly. And so if some of those bells and whistles get in the way of you booking something on your calendar or pulling up a name in your address book or going in and out of apps, like, that stuff gets old. And I think with him, in terms of his company, obviously he wants to make a good presentation with the design and all that. But, competing against the iPhone and Android devices, like, I just don't see the Fire phone really penetrating the marketplace. So.
We'll see. I mean, look. I mean, we're America's sucker, and I'm one of them, sucker for gimmicks and gadgets. I think that a lot of what the Samsung phone was able to do is really just make it something anti-iPhone and with screen size. It's like, what are all the things the iPhone's not? Right. And we're going to do that. And it's done very well doing that. I think that what the challenge that Bezos and Amazon has is like, what are all the things that Samsung's not? What are the things that iPhone's not? Let me try to do it over here. But that may be a little, too much.
I think too, like, leaves a distasteful, what's distasteful to me is that, he's not opening it up to Google Play. No. So if someone wants to get apps from Google Play, they cannot. And I just asked the question, like, what developer is going to be so giddy to develop apps for the Fire phone? Right. Like, how many people are going to use the Fire phone where there's going to be infrastructure for apps? And the apps that they have are probably going to be very cheesy.
Yeah, I think that he's banking on the fact that, he's really all about building out his own infrastructure. That's what he's famous for. I think that there's already an existing ecosystem, if you will, like in Amazon, whether it's, through Amazon Fresh or Amazon Prime, or, you get your books, you got your, products, you got your TV shows. So he's already has an existing infrastructure. So what he's about doing is creating these the devices that'll help you get to his shit better, and faster. Yeah. And so that's maybe good for him, but maybe not so great for the consumer.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, unless his in-house developing team is going to come up with some really unique stuff, I don't see like a independent developer like Giddy to develop for that versus Google Play or something for the App Store.
Right.
Like so, and I just I look at the comparison of like Craigslist, something that's very simple. The design hasn't changed much over the years, but very effective.
Yep.
And I think I think people are sophisticated enough to know that these are bells and whistles, and they'll get over it quickly.
Right.
So.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not running down to get my fire yet, but we'll see how it works out. So I want to move on to the next story, which is about the publishing industry. Like a lot of talk about. We talk a lot about film and what's going to happen to the music industry is dead, and what's going to happen to the television industry, what's going to happen to all these different industries are dying and fading and moving around. And one of those was the publishing industry in terms of magazines and books. And this story that I was just reading is sort of like talking about how the demise of the publishing industry is greatly exaggerated. And I agree. I mean, there's reports that actually all of this all of this these new technologies the publishing industry is catching up to all these new technologies and platforms. There's this whole push when when the internet first came on the scene, the web first came on the scene, the web pages, like who's going to want to hold a newspaper, who's going to want to hold a magazine, who's going to read a book. Well, to the publishing industry's credit, they found out new ways to monetize all of these things, be on all of these devices, and it's thriving, which is a big shock.
I definitely agree. I think it's thriving in this age that we're in now. But I don't think the publishing industry is changing. I just think like the revenue models are changing.
Right.
I think that the infrastructure of how people write and put together stuff is the same, but I think, like I said, the revenue model is different. So I think if a lot of these big pub houses give away some of their content and they build their fan base and they're able to use that fan base to go to an advertiser, and that's how they make money versus directly selling to like the end consumer.
Right.
Just give the product for free and build your consumer base and then have an advertiser come in and pay money to advertise their product to your consumer base. I think that's kind of like the revenue model that a lot of these guys are using, aside from you download the app and then you're able to purchase like the magazine or the periodical that way. I mean, I think those ways are effective as well. But yeah, I think in terms of on your tablet or on your phone, like it's all about design.
Right.
Like if it looks sleek and clean, like I think people are going to engage in it and buy it and consume it. If it's not competitive in that sense, I don't think people are really going to go for it.
And also, it's quality, right? So like there's a lot of I get most of my news now from my Twitter feed that links me to something that's probably some publication that's an online publication. So whether it's Slate or Vulture or Grantland or 538, these are all like credible, wonderful, with great writers and great content, all that live exclusively online. That I just love reading long form stuff as much as I still enjoy reading The New Yorker and Vanity Fair and some of these other magazines as well. So it's really about the quality. So I think of your writers and your content, number one. And number two, which is what you said, it's about the presentation. Like no one wants to just read an old school, horrible, pop-up laden, really goofy website. It's got to be clean and slick. And I think they've done a lot of great job with the magazines. The print magazines are looking fantastic. Like I get all my print magazines and I still love them all. I get them all on my iPad, and the experience on my iPad I find it actually better than than my print experience and carrying those magazines around.
I mean, not to cut you off, but to that point, I think the digital version of like say an article is more. It's more effective because the writer can have he can expound upon a topic versus for print it's locked in.
Yeah.
I'm saying you write a few paragraphs or whatever and that's it. Versus with the digital you could have like links and you could have other things. You can navigate through the topic much better.
Certainly.
And give the user more value. And I think that's really cool too.
Yeah, and you see that in magazines. You see that like the Grantlands of the world. They'll have a topic, they'll have an article, and there'll be YouTube links along the way and clips along the way. So it's definitely a more interactive experience. So good because good for the publishing industry because I like to read, and I'm glad reading isn't dead.
Right.
But another thing that's not dead is also the success of this is sort of greatly exaggerated. Is World Cup that's happening right now. I mean. And we all have World Cup fever, at least I do. I'm all in. It takes me a while. It takes me like a week to get warmed up. I mean, 4 years ago, it took me like a week and a half you know, 2 weeks, and then I was all in. This year, it took me about a week and a half, and I'm all in. Went to see the last two American matches, and they were packed. Everywhere I went was packed. I was in Denver for one. It was like every block was packed. I was in yesterday. I was around Melrose. Every bar was packed out. Black folks, white folks, like crazy, you know. So, but the truth is these we're experiencing record excitement and record numbers. But the truth is, America still doesn't really love soccer. The metrics don't really point to, you know what, you know, that we really are as engaged as it seems to be, as it seems. Now, you and I talked about before about how this World Cup is going to be the most engaged, you know, tweeted about worldwide, which is still true. But in America, the biggest ratings, you know, the USA versus Ghana, which was record ratings, did 11.1. It did had 11 million viewers. Is dwarfed between the 100 million viewers that you know the NFL gets or the London Olympics gets, and it's interesting.
But see, with that statistic, you're taking one game. There's millions of Americans that's watching millions of Americans that are watching all the games. That's just the game versus Ghana. Like so, if you aggregated all the viewership for all the games, like the numbers would probably be top.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the statement is like, well, America's not in the World Cup, but they'll watch America, you'll watch Team USA play, and those ratings are pretty strong. But maybe if you did aggregate all of what everyone's watching, you know, Italy versus Burma or whatever the hell, you know, then you'll get a bigger number.
Yeah, because regardless if USA is winning, losing, or even in the World Cup, the World Cup is still exciting. You still want to see who's going to take the prize, who's going to win at the very end.
Right.
And I mean, I've been glued to it. I've been watching, you know, all the time, almost every game. And it's very exciting, like just to see. I mean, there's almost like this festival atmosphere. People out with lawn chairs, watching it in parks and stuff. That's crazy to me. Like, I to be honest, aside from the Olympics, I haven't seen anything like that.
Is it? I'm gonna ask you this question that everyone asks about World Cup. Is it sticky? Because I promise you, 4 years ago, you could not find a bigger World Cup fan. I was waking up at 7 a.m., going down to the Nike spot. I was watching the games, waving flags, high-fiving, you know, French people and Africans and doing a chant, and then I forgot all about it. And now this year I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, soccer. Is it sticky? Like when it's all said and done, because by the end, I will be, you know, I had the Venezuela, I was in, and now, I don't know.
I mean, I think when the World Cup's over, I think we're going to go back to, you know, other interests. And I think 4 years, you know, from now, we'll be back juiced, ready to go again. I think we have so much variety of entertainment with sports that I think it's going to take a long time for soccer to be that top bill entertainment sport thing that we gravitate to. I think with like the communal spirit and the masochism that we get from football, I don't think soccer will ever overshadow that, ever.
I agree. Okay, well, let's move on to another purchase, another high-profile purchase. Looks like Google has bought. Let me back this up. Google purchased Nest, which is sort of a online security and what they do, like alarms and photo alarms. What do you call them?
Home monitoring system.
Right. I mean, well, Nest does like they do like home surveillance and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And then Nest has bought Dropcam, which is like a monitoring cam situation. Yeah. But the concern is, I don't know if it's a concern, it's just the question is they're all owned by Google, and the question is why is Google getting into the monitoring business? You have an answer for that?
I mean, well, like you said, Google owns Nest. Nest owns Dropcam. Google bought it for Google bought Nest for $3.2 billion. Nest bought Dropcam for $500 million. And so, from my understanding, Nest has exclusive rights to Dropcam, and what that user base is not going they don't run it with ads. So Google is not going to get their information. Right. So I don't think that, and that's the fine line because Dropcam is hardware, but they're also in the cloud business. And that's really what the argument is. Like, so you have a home monitoring service and all that's being recorded and uploaded to the cloud so that you can store it. And so now where does that information go? Does Google have, can they activate that? Can they use that?
Yes.
And I think that's the argument. But in the Nest, I guess, licensing agreement saying that Google can't. So I don't know.
Right. Here's the thing about these licensing agreements and all these things that come up. I mean, a perfect example of is this whole net neutrality thing that came up. The whole notion that if you are a service provider and that are broadcasting stuff, you can't control the internet and the speed at which the internet comes, because obviously that means if I can control how fast HBO comes versus how fast Showtime comes, and I work for HBO, that's a problem, right? So that was like, there was all kinds of laws in place to make that not happen. Well, all those things in place were only in place for a couple of years. They're all expiring now, and we're having all this trouble and things now. My point is that at the purchase of all these things, everyone always says the same thing. Oh, no. On Facebook, we're buying drones, but it's only for monitoring. Oh, no. We're buying surveillance, but don't worry, we can't do that. Those laws will be changed and will be broken, and those systems will be in place. And Mark Zuckerberg will be dropping Facebook bombs on your head from the drone. I mean, but Google will be spying on you and knowing what's going on.
That's across the board, though. Your cell phone. I mean, the government says they're not tapping into your cell phone, but I bet you they are.
Well, they can.
But I bet you they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And right. So do you not use a cell phone?
Right. Well, I'm not trying to get on. I don't want to turn into conspiracy corner, with Joan and Keely. But yeah,
it's the same argument.
It's the same argument. I just think that we do this show, we do the tech show, and my position is always like, I'm scared to death.
I mean, if someone's going to purchase this device, they have an option to not use the cloud service. So they don't have to upload hundreds of hours of home surveillance. Like, what do you need that for?
Yeah, they don't have to, but they can, and it's available.
Yeah,
I guess that's the issue. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But I think it's interesting. It also feels. I hate that weird feeling when you buy a company and then the company you buy something. It just feels like, I don't know. It's all Google. You're not fooling anyone. Just say Google bought it. Don't give me the oh, we didn't. This was Nest. Nest bought it. It's just weird. I don't know. Anyway, okay, let's move on. I want to talk about something that's near and dear to both of our hearts, which is the demise and reformation and realignment, and still maybe demise of the music industry as we know it. So we know about Spotify and first iTunes sort of changed the music industry as we know it, and then Spotify and Pandora came on the scene. Beats Music is now on the scene. Apple's bought Beats Music. There's a lot of stuff happening here with music, and it seems that they've kind of solved this problem of getting people music, the music industry making money, and everyone's sort of happy with all these different systems. But the problem seems to still be is that the artists are finding it harder and harder and harder to get paid, and harder to come up with these revenue streams.
Absolutely.
And if you're without artists making money, the music industry is in trouble. Is the thesis?
Yeah.
What do you think of any of this?
I mean, I think it's the same. It's the same infrastructure. The music industry is using the same infrastructure of old. It's just in a different form, and that infrastructure is where an artist will create something, and they'll give up their artist rights, their publishing, so that they can have distribution. And so these big music record label companies, that's their form of distribution, like the Spotify's, a lot of these subscription streaming services that you mentioned are partially owned by some of the major labels. So it's so you give up your publishing so that you can have the audience.
Right.
And I think that's where the change needs to happen. I think artists need to really focus away from that traditional route of going to a major label or having, a major distribution channel. Have your own audience, perform, tour, and keep it as niched as possible and organically grow it. I think it's always going to be a problem with artists starving when they do that, when they go the traditional route, be it from buying a record in store to buying it on iTunes to having it streamed on Spotify or Beats Music.
Right.
So that's my take on it.
Well, it's interesting because iTunes is a model that seemed to make sense because it was a pay per play model. You buy a 99-cent song now, $1.29, whatever it is, and a portion of that goes to Apple, a portion that goes to the artist. It's pretty transparent. Everybody wins. You sell a lot of songs. You make a lot of money in the end. With these streaming services like Spotify and Beats Music and now Amazon and others, you pay a monthly fee. So I pay $10 a month, and I get everything. I get 20 million songs, $10 a month. So That $10 a month times, I don't know, whatever it is, however many million users can't pay everybody like the same. The pie is not as equal.
Absolutely.
So artists like U2 and all these other bigger artists and Madonna, well, whoever, Drake and whoever these other people are still going to get paid because they have the giant share of the pie.
Of course.
But these smaller artists like, I don't know, Afghan Wigs or Far Side or whoever else, they don't get that same share of the pie. How do you split up that pie? How do you split up that my $9.99? How does that split up? Well, I know that $9.99, Drake's gonna get this much, but everyone else gonna get this much. It's not enough for 20 million artists.
That's a big argument, with the two major music publishing companies, ASCAP and BMI. At least your performance publishing.
Right.
Like, what's the rate? What rate is it? Is it the same for the larger artists that have a huge audience that get more streaming,
Right.
or like you suggest, the artists that have a small fan base or are more niched or more regional? Like, how do they get their performance rights when they're streamed?
Yeah.
Like, how do they get? What's the rate? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and then that's it's really changing ASCAP and BMI and all those services like as well. It's like really that business model is not the same as it used to be, So
I think too. I think the value of a song is nil. It's cheapened because at least with iTunes, the value of a song is, like you said, 99 cents or $1.20.
Right.
Now it's like, what is the value of a song? You stream it all day.
Yeah.
Like you have access to thousands of songs that you can listen to with the press of a button. So what is like the value of it?
Yeah, because it's one thing when you can, it's the same thing, right? Because back in the old days, when you make a record, the record has X amount of value. The song has value. This is what the ASCAPs and the BMIs sell. You can sell. If I wrote "Happy Birthday," then presumably I'm paid. Happy birthdays, whatever. So what is the value of that now? When, everyone, there's no way to sign, like I said, any of those rights to something that's streamed forevermore from all these multiple devices legally. And not even talk about illegally and other forms. And you have SoundCloud now, and you have all these other places, Vivo and YouTube Music and Facebook and all those other people who are trying to get the music business. Like, where is the value of that song? So it's up to artists, and I know it's always up to artists to use that exposure to, get those Live Nation deals like Jay-Z and those others who get these gigantic, $500 million deals to go perform, which is how you monetize and merchandise and everything else. But everyone can't do that. Like,
most artists got to tour 365 days a year.
Right.
And they got to build it organically, like I said. And I feel the artists that do that heavy lifting in the beginning and grind it out and work and hit the road and control their music, like those are the artists that emerge and really, like Jay-Z. That's what Jay-Z did, what I'm saying, even in the old days. So to me, that strategy is still the same even now with all the technology. You got to do the same. Like, looking for a major label to back you and distribute you. I still think that that's, people aren't going for that.
No, it's really just all of this, the way we consume media and the way we commoditize media and the way it's still it's a fascinating ongoing story, from the demise of the music industry to the reformation of the music industry to television to film to publishing. We talked about earlier. It's really interesting in how our current times has changed the way the business of receiving art and content. And so we'll see how this whole thing goes.
My last note on it.
Yeah.
I think this is key too, is the democratization of art because of technology. Technology gives everyone access to become an artist, to become a musician.
Right.
And so that cheapens, that promotes mediocrity. And so I think that makes it more difficult for a true artist to emerge, because there's so much noise. There's so much noise to funnel through. So when you're dealing with a Spotify or Beats Music, it's so much access. Like, how do I pinpoint on what's really great?
Right.
And the only way to do that is to show me that you can perform, show me that you are truly an artist through other ways.
Right.
So,
well, it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. But it's just an ongoing story to follow. It's just as people who, make their living in the world of art commerce.
it's sad, man.
As artists who make our living in the world of art commerce, it's interesting to see where we get left out.
I'm just disappointed. Like, I'm being in the music industry and being an artist. It's just disappointing that you could come from a time where you could make millions of dollars off a record, and now you have to struggle, really struggle just to get your record heard,
right? Or even I was having a conversation with someone the other day about music videos. Like, who pays for those videos anymore? I mean, I'm so glad they make them. I'm watching a video the other day for something, and I was like, oh, that's a great video, but who paid for this thing? like the economics aren't the same. No one's going to pay $1 million, $500,000, $200,000 for a video, for a single, for what?
Yeah.
You
People
know,
aren't buying
it's all
singles.
promotional.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. So anyway, it's interesting. All right, so moving forward to another subject that's near and dear to my heart, Star Wars. As we know, we're kind of late on this, but we're here because we do our show. What it is, you know, there was an announcement that Rian Johnson will write and direct the next 2 Star Wars films, which is pretty huge. Rian Johnson, if you don't know, is the guy who's responsible for the very, very good, interesting sci-fi movie Looper, which was great. And yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm really. Well, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any thoughts on this whatsoever? Because I have thoughts.
I mean, my thoughts are it's just interesting in terms of, you know, I'm interested to see how the first one's going to pan out.
Okay.
And, like, you know, how that's going to look and how that's going to feel. And then, I mean, I think he can do it. I think he has the expertise to make a classic. I'm a little ambivalent. I don't really know, to be honest.
There's a couple of things that bother me about this. The first thing is, I'm worried about, you know, all the fanfare about J.J. Abrams and Star Wars, and all the fanfare about, you know, this happening. It's curious to me that they would announce so early that he's not coming back, because he's the guy who's going to be able to set the tone. After, no matter what this movie does, let's just say this movie is, you know, explodes like we know it will, and it's amazing, it's the best thing ever. Aren't you going to want to see J.J. Abrams come back? You know, so the fact that they're already announcing that he's not coming back and these other guys will write next to is already, I feel like it's a little early and weird for me.
Maybe it's something political. Maybe it's something wrong in the wheelhouse over there.
Yeah, that's all I can think. It's like, well, you're not coming back. But it's weird. But it's J.J. Abrams, so I don't understand what's happening there. Unless he has a franchise, unless he knows that he's going to be locked up for the next 5 years doing his own stuff.
Right,
he has his own movies.
That's plausible.
He's like, I can't be locked up for the next 9 years doing Star Wars movies, which is fair enough,
Yeah.
right? So, and then the other thing is that, like, okay, fair enough. Then why would you lock him up for both movies?
Right.
Like, why not just get a guy to do one and then go get like a Neil Blomkamp from District 9 or someone else to do the third one, or go out and get my man.
Saying switch it up every time.
Yeah, there's so many great little great directors, like my guy who just did Godzilla. I can't remember his name, but like, get him to do the third one. Get all these. There's so many people who are Gen Xers like me, who grew up with Star Wars, who are talented filmmakers, who were dying to do this. Now, obviously, Rian Johnson is one of those people because he's a visionary and you know, but I don't know. It really, I hope that it's great, but it feels like a weird move to me. I don't know.
It feels a little weird. Like I said, I'm still excited to see, you know, what JJ does with the first one. Hopefully it's explosive. Hopefully he sets the tone and sets the bar extremely high, which I think he will.
Right. I want to skip a couple stories here. I want to skip the next 3 stories there, and I want to go to Facebook Slingshot because you know, there was so much noise about Facebook purchasing. I mean, the whole trying to purchase Snapchat, and so much noise about Snapchat and what it is. We all knew that Facebook would come up with their own version of Snapchat. Well, you know, they have their Slingshot, and now there's a lot of PR, a lot of like talk about how much better it is than Snapchat, and how much more it does, and how much more of it can be more like a feed. And
Right.
I just started using Snapchat, to be honest with you. I've been using it for about a month. I don't really send. I use it the same way I use Twitter. You know, I follow a bunch of people, and they always do a bunch of crazy stuff, and then I just watch them do it, and then you know. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on Snapchat? What are your thoughts on Facebook and this their whole new thing, Slingshot?
I mean, I think Facebook had to come up with an answer to Snapchat, and obviously Slingshot is that answer. Like, you got to ask yourself, what are the differences between Slingshot and Snapchat? Snapchat, you send content, and person reviews the content, and it's gone.
Right.
Slingshot, person sends content, and for you to review or experience that content, you have to send something back first.
Right.
So I think that's an interesting way to communicate, you know what I'm saying? But I think in terms of the immediacy of the content, I think it's more of just like an entertainment thing. It's less of a messaging service and more of just a kind of like, I just want to get information and interact with my buddies or whatever.
Well, it's back to the Bezos thing. It's like the gimmick thing, right? I mean, like Snapchat.
Very
obviously, we know there's infinite ways to communicate via, you know, devices and the internet. So we can email, we can text, we can da-da-da. So Snapchat was also a way to sort of do that. But now this whole notion of I'll send you a message, but you know I'm gonna say it till you give me your message first. Seems problematic, especially in the romantic thing. Like,
You gotta think kids though. Think like a kid. Think like a teenager.
Okay, let me try. All I think of like is, me sending a picture of me like, baby, I love you. And then I can't, and then she sends, but she can't, I can't even read what, no, she sent something to me.
I can't stand you.
I know, exactly. She sends a message to me, and I'm like, she loves me. Let me send her something back. I love you too. I send it, it's like, I hate you, mother. It's that whole thing is really, it's funny to me, but.
Well, I think that's it. It's the mystique. It's the mystery behind it. Like, and I think that keeps it ever evolving. Like, oh, I wonder what they're gonna send me. I wonder what this is, or like, okay, so that piques your interest, and also maybe it allows creativity. Like, let me come up with something that's really unique or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, this is sort of what these devices do, and it does have the opportunity and the potential to become something big in the culture and everything else. But I think it's a little gimmicky.
Agreed.
Speaking of gimmicky, well, not so gimmicky. Let's move on to Chelsea Handler and Netflix. So, Netflix has been in the news a lot, content-wise, for the past, 18 months, making these original content plays, sort of just really passing HBO in terms of subscriptions and everything else. And now they've done great in the drama space with House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, the comedy space with Arrested Development, and some other stuff, the horror space with Hemlock Grove and other stuff, and they've got comedy specials. But the place that they haven't done is in the late night talk show space, and it's a weird thing. They just signed this huge deal with Chelsea Handler to do multiple things. She's going to be doing multiple sort of specials, these one-off specials. A comedy special thing. They're going to be doing these like sort of adventures thing where like, her and Jennifer Aniston will go on an adventure in Bali or something, and they'll shoot that. And then she'll do whatever her talk show will be. The idea of a talk show on Netflix that's evergreen is an interesting concept.
It's very interesting.
First of all, what do you think of them taking this big bet on Chelsea Handler, of all people? And then what do you think of the idea of the talk show that's evergreen?
I think it's a good move. I think Netflix is smart to do this. I think Chelsea Handler is a strong personality. I think she's very charismatic. I think her show is solid. I think she has a good fan base. So I think with her style of show and her style of comedy, I think the late night show will work for her. And I think Netflix is using this as like a palate cleanser. Like, so you do your binge watching, you watch all these other shows, and now or you watch a movie or a doc. This is something that you could watch to kind of like bridge going to another show. Something that's quick, something that's light, fun, entertaining. That's not necessarily a film or a doc. And so I think it's innovative. I think it's unique. I think it'll be very interesting. I think people will go for it.
Here's the thing.
What about you?
Well, it's interesting because a couple things with it. Number one, their Netflix strategy has been to put all these things up at once, and you watch them at your leisure. Well, this is a sort of a topical show, so you won't be able to put them all at once. So you actually have to tune in and have them. But as I thought about this, I thought, how do I consume these shows now? I've got literally 18 Jimmy Fallons on the DVR right now. I've got 12 Seth Meyers. I've got 10 Conans. I've got they're sitting there. I've got so many daily shows up there. So they're sitting up there. This is how I consume them.
Yeah.
I'll get home I've been gone for like 10 days. I come home right now. I start look through the guests. I look at the main comedy bit. I look at the first segment, and I move forward.
That's why I think it'll work.
Some people do it online. Some people just
on
do
YouTube. Yeah.
On YouTube. Like, what did Jimmy Fallon do? What was funny? What did Jimmy Kimmel do?
Just the sketches. Yeah.
So just the sketches, right? So this is a great model for that.
Absolutely.
It just occurred to me like, oh, we're not in a world anymore. We tune in at 11:30, and watch at 11:30 and watch the thing and go to bed. I mean, maybe some people do, but it's really a world where they're doing comedy shows and we're tuning in for these comedy bits. So that's what she's doing. So in that regard, I think it could work.
For sure.
So I think it's a really smart, bold move on Netflix's part. So.
And I think it really diversifies their pantheon of shows.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is unique. This is embroaching over new territory.
Yeah.
So who knows where they will expand from here.
Yeah. Who knows? Well, that's good. So the other thing I want to talk about, which is near and dear to your heart, because I know you'd be wilding out at things like this, is the EDC The Electric Daisy Carnival.
I be wilding out.
Yeah.
No comment.
They just can't. It just you just got back from EDC in Vegas.
I be wilding out.
I see you right there.
Front row.
I see. I know how you do. So
Okay.
EDC just happened over the weekend, and it is massive carnival. It for those of you who know, it's a big electronic dance music festival that is a couple days long, and it's in the Speedway in Las Vegas, and it used to be here in Los Angeles, and every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I went to Coachella this year, which was fantastic and giant. This is all electronic dance music all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do this one, and I like this sort of thing. It's just a little much for me. But the point I'm trying to make is the expansion of what this is in the culture and media-wise, and what the dollars amount this brings in Las Vegas, the $278 million extra dollars into the Vegas that weekend. We've already talked about how EDM, the electronic dance music scene, and DJs, they already eclipse the gambling in some casinos. So some casinos like MGM make more off Calvin Harris and Steve Aoki and the beach clubs and Hakkasan than they do on the casino floor, which is insane. So Vegas, which was now a place of gambling, and then they tried to make it for families, and they made it about gambling again, is now really a place for DJs.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think of this whole culture?
I mean, man, it's huge. Like, you got to think, you kind of alluded to it. Like, Calvin Harris, he just hit Forbes' list of being the highest music entertainer. 40, I think like almost 50 million this year.
As a DJ.
As a DJ for performances and record sales. That's ridiculous.
I mean, he sings and stuff too, but.
And then I mean, in terms of festivals and concerts in the United States, it's about a $5 billion industry. The electronic dance music festivals throughout the world is 1 billion. So you got to think that's a huge industry. That's a huge amount of money that's being made in the course of a year. And so I think in terms of where we are with music, and we kind of talked about it in terms of like why records aren't selling and how can an artist make money is through the experiential aspects of touring and performing. And this is it. This the festival culture. We are in it. And I think, you know, people want to go and experience something with the community. They want to feel that vibe and be connected. And I think with this type of music, it's perfect because people just wild out, they have fun. Like, it's electric. Like, literally, it's electric.
Yeah, it is.
And so I think Vegas is the perfect landscape for this festival. I
think so too. You know, I'm not mad at EDC, and I probably will end up going at some point. It's not as wild as Burning Man, and not as a little more wild than Coachella, but not as wild as Burning Man. But I will go. But yeah, it's very interesting. You're right. You're so much right about how people make these dollars is getting these kids there, experiencing things, paying high premium. We're talking about $300 a pop minimum to even walk in the door, and then you've got concessions, and then you've got merchandising, and then you've got, because it's a festival, you've got all kinds of other things you need to survive out there in the desert for a couple of days, and then of course the hotels and driving back and forth, and it's a gigantic industry, and you see this with Coachella even. The biggest stars. There's no one too big for Coachella. There's no one too big for Coachella. And then even when you are there, you'll have like 5 or 6 guests. When I saw Pharrell, everyone came out.
Absolutely.
From Jay-Z to Rusher to Mary J. Blige. I mean, everyone came out like that with Pharrell to just be on that stage. So,
and aside from the very top artists, you're not going to find masses of people getting together for music. And I think electronic dance music is one of the very few things that can actually pull thousands of people together all over the world.
All over the world, from different nationalities, cultures, backgrounds, races, where you don't necessarily get that with some of these music festivals. But the music festival is different because they're contrived right that way. So you may have like Arcade Fire over here, and then Jay-Z over here, and then over here you have the Martinez brothers in one tent, and then you have Skrillex over here. I mean, you can have that diversity, and that's how you get those diverse groups together in Coachella. But even that seems a little forced. Where something like this, it's like it's a large culture that are all on the same page. And the myth is they're spending money.
Oh, for sure.
Like, the myth is this isn't just a bunch of kids, ravers in a warehouse. These are people who are spending dollars. Now
huge economic shift for the city.
But there is this sort of the underlying drug culture that's involved in that, which some people have a problem with, some people do not. But it's still an interesting think why people have yet to, corporations have a hard time embracing the whole world. So much money get made in there is that what's a part of it is the underlying drug culture, much like rock and roll.
Yeah, that's inherent in music, period.
Much like corporations were like against psychedelic rock and roll in the 60s because it was presumed to be all about taking acid,
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, you have a problem with any of that?
I mean, like I said, that's a part of music culture. Like that's inherent in all genres of music. Like people are gonna smoke weed, people are gonna drink,
Right.
people are gonna pop pills,
Right.
people are gonna do what they're gonna do. Especially in a festival environment, people want to wild out. They want to be free. You know
I see
what I'm
you. I know how you do it. So.
Nah, that's not me, bro. That's not me, sir.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Well, that may be some of us in this room, but certainly not me. Well, I think that might be it for us today. I mean, I don't know. You have anything else? Anything else you want to talk about? You want to add? Anything else popped up?
Yeah. Have you seen Edge of Tomorrow yet?
I did see Edge of Tomorrow.
Man, what's your take on that?
I loved Edge of Tomorrow.
Man, that movie was very, very cool. I was about to cuss.
I loved Edge of Tomorrow, and the issue, it's really bad that it opened very, very, very softly.
Yeah.
And the question is about what is Tom Cruise still a bankable movie star, because this is a great movie.
Yeah.
We talk it all the time, and us critics in Hollywood talk about, like, we want something original. We don't want any more comic book stuff. We don't want any more sequels. We want an original sci-fi story. Well, here's a largely, it's based on a graphic novel, but
Japanese thing.
Novel, yeah. But largely original, unknown story with a big time movie star. Great thing, and audiences don't show up. Why, is that a Tom Cruise issue? Why is that?
I don't know, man. It might be. I mean, if you just go off the trailer and just the marketing of the movie, like I thought it was gonna be whack.
Yeah.
But I gave it a chance, and I was
why did you think it was gonna be whack?
I don't know. It just seemed stupid. It just seemed like, what is this?
Right.
Like I didn't get the concept.
Right.
And I know they couldn't give me the concept because then they would have spoiled it.
Right.
But I mean, giving it a try and seeing the movie, I was like, yo, this is tight. Like this is really entertaining. Like everything about it, I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. And Emily Blunt is incredible. She's dope. My boy Bill Paxton, he's funny as a sergeant doing his thing. I forget all of his lines, but it's a great, great, great movie. And it's for those of you who haven't seen it, it's sort of a Groundhog Day meets like, Saving Private Ryan meets I don't know what. It's incredible. But anyway, so that's my hot pick. I saw 22 Jump Street like that. I saw what else did I see? That's it. I think I'm behind.
Yeah, I still got to catch up on X-Men.
Oh, I saw that.
I haven't seen X-Men yet. Yeah.
But there's some stuff coming out now.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway, I think that'll do it for us.
I know you saw. I Think Like a Man 2. You was there first day, right?
First day. Think Like a Man Deuce. I did not see Think Like a Man 2, but I'm sure it's fantastic. I'm not mad at Kevin Hart or anybody in the film, but yeah, I missed that one. Thank you for joining us. Akili Shine, where can we find you, sir?
You can find me at Akili Shine, AKILI Shine, on Instagram and Twitter. What about yourself, brother?
I'm Joe Braswell. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Joe K. Braswell, and around town doing other stuff. Thank you so much for listening to us and downloading us and checking us out on iTunes. This is how you should be sure to rate us on iTunes as well, so other people find out about us and spread the word that way through our ratings. And I think that's all we got. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week, 4th of July. So we'll see you in 2 weeks on Geek.Nerd.Tech.
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.
Thanks for watching Black Hollywood Live on YouTube. For more in-depth interviews and news, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion in the comment section below here. See you soon, everyone. Bye.